Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast. Today, we're going to delve into the world of plants, but not just any plants. We're going to talk about those hardy, resilient, and independent plants that don't need attentive care. Yes, you heard it right. If you're someone who loves the idea of having greenery around but can't seem to keep a plant alive, this episode is for you. Let's start with a bit of context. Plants are living organisms. And like all living organisms, they need certain things to survive. Sunlight, water, and nutrients from the soil are the basics. But some plants have adapted to survive in less than ideal conditions, making them perfect for those of us who may not have the greenest of thumbs. First on our list is the snake plant, also known as Sansevieria. This plant is a favorite among many plant enthusiasts for its hardiness. It can survive in low-light conditions and doesn't require frequent watering. In fact, overwatering is one of the few ways you can actually kill this plant. It's a great plant for beginners and also has the added benefit of purifying the air in your home. Next up, we have the Ayaci plant, or Zamioculcas zamiofolia. This plant is a real survivor. It can handle a range of lighting conditions from low light to bright indirect light. It's also drought tolerant, meaning it can survive even if you forget to water it for a while. The Z's plant is also known for its shiny, dark green leaves that can add a touch of elegance to any room. Moving on, let's talk about the pothos or devil's ivy. This plant is known for its beautiful, heart-shaped leaves and its ability to grow in a variety of conditions. It can thrive in low light, and it doesn't need a lot of water. Plus, it's a fast grower, so you can enjoy the satisfaction of seeing your plant thrive. Another plant that's worth mentioning is the spider plant. This plant is not only easy to care for, but also produces baby plants, or spiderets, that you can easily propagate. It's a great plant if you want to quickly fill your space with greenery. Now, if you're looking for a plant that can add a pop of color to your space, the jade plant might be the one for you. This succulent has thick, shiny leaves that can range from green to reddish, brown, depending on the amount of sunlight it gets. It's a drought-tolerant plant, so you don't need to water it frequently. Last but not least, let's talk about the aloe vera plant. This plant is not only easy to care for, but also has medicinal properties. The gel inside its leaves can be used to soothe burns and cuts. It's a plant that prefers bright, indirect light and doesn't need a lot of water. Now, even though these plants don't require attentive care, it doesn't mean you can completely ignore them. They still need some basic care. Here are a few tips to keep in mind. First, even though these plants can survive in low-light conditions, they still need some light. So make sure you place them in a spot where they can get at least a few hours of indirect sunlight each day. Second, while these plants are drought-tolerant, they still need water. The key is to let the soil dry out between waterings. A good rule of thumb is to stick your finger about an inch into the soil. If it feels dry, it's time to water your plant. Third, these plants don't need a lot of fertilizer. In fact, over-fertilizing can harm them. A light feeding once or twice a year is usually enough. And finally, remember that every plant is unique. What works for one plant might not work for another, even if they're the same species. So pay attention to your plant. If it's not looking its best, try adjusting its light, water, or feeding schedule. That's all for today's episode. I hope this has inspired you to add some greenery to your space, even if you don't have a lot of time to care for plants. Remember, plants not only add beauty to our homes, but also help purify the air and can even boost our mood. So go ahead and give plant parenting a try. You might be surprised at how rewarding it can be. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, keep growing.